that had success at the end, that got into the playoffs. And you mentioned that it was like Game 7 from August on. And that makes it easy for guys to buy in to the substitutions and the roles and the varying ways to win every game. What's the challenge of repeating that mindset and regaining that vibe that you have?
Yeah, so we got to taste it down the stretch, playing playoff games for the better part of 2 months, and then we go into the actual playoffs and win a playoff series for the first time in a long time, and then a really tough series against Cleveland. And so there's anything that we talk about or about our preparation or what we need to do to be better. I mean, they know why, right? We've gotten to experience it a little bit, and I don't feel like this team's going to really waver off of that. I think the biggest challenge for a young team, and I've seen this before, is not looking backwards as you're trying to progress. I mean, we can't repeat last season. We're not trying to repeat last season. We're trying to be better. We want to win the AL Central. We want to put ourselves in a better and better position moving forward. And you can't do that by looking backwards. And I want our guys to take ownership of the fact that we are going to be looked at a little bit differently. We got a lot of things we need to do to get better. And the test is going to come, as the attention grows towards the season, that that was a fun run and a fun time and a memorable playoff chase for us, and now we start over again.
Whether it's internal or external, like what are the steps it take to get to winning the AL Central?
Well, we obviously need to play better for a longer period of the season. It's hard to imagine putting together that type of ending that we did. We're capable of it, and we showed that we can win as many games as anybody in baseball over a period of time. But we had some tough months too, and we had some tough learning curves for our players and everybody around the organization. So we just got to get incrementally better in every spot, and we have examples of that throughout the year where players struggled or didn't do their best, and then all of a sudden turned into mainstays in the lineup. Down the stretch, we had lessons learned on how we were going to deploy our talent and how we were going to use our players. And every team's different. I say that every year. Maybe it'll not be as different personnel-wise, but guys will play better. Guys will do. Hopefully, we stay healthy. We weren't healthy last season for a lot of the middle part of the season, and obviously we know what's at stake.
It feels like there could be a lot of competition for the last rotation spot or two. How are you communicating with some of those guys, Mize, Manny, and Montero?
Yeah.
Just the plan thing.
Yeah, the common thing for us has been, when we talk about this depth of pitching and the way we used our pitching last season is you pitch well while you're in there. And so the competition is going to be, we got to get better in a lot of different areas. We had a rotation to speak of. I know we used it a little differently, but we're just telling these guys to come in ready to compete, try to make our team. And as you get better, the teams get harder and harder to make. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for us as a team. It's a good thing for us as an organization. And we've told a lot of our players that it's important to have a good offseason. And whether that's a pitch grip change, whether that's a understanding of your usage, whether it's how your body's moving, whether it's some of your training, the innings are going to be very competitive.
How would you assess the outfield defense in particular? If you get a full season from Hunter, Riley in the corner, and then whether it's here or whoever else in the outfield, how much of an asset can the outfield defense be for you guys?
Yeah. That's been a major step in the right direction for us. I think George Lombard is one of the best outfield coaches in baseball. He's been in the news before. He's going to be a manager someday. But his impact on our outfield defense has been really well documented, but also really well earned. And we can put 3 center fielders on the field in a big, not the biggest outfield, but a big outfield. And a pretty good pitching staff, and that's a step in the right direction. We can turn a lot of hits into outs. We can turn a lot of doubles into singles, and I feel really good that I could mix and match in any order Parker's going to be in center, but arguably 3 center fielders in the outfield any given night is a huge advantage for our pitching.
How much has Clark been working on his own with his own guys, hitting wise this offseason, and how much have your coaches been checking in?
Yeah, it's a good balance for everybody. We get to the off season and these guys all have, either former coaches or people they work with, and our guys are in sync with them. So he's been with both. He's got a great setup in Arizona along with a number of our players. We sort of have a whole operation in Arizona now with a couple of players and a few of our staff members that live there. They just got together, I think, last week with a few of our hitting guys to check in with them, and we'll put them together with some defensive guys like we do with a lot of our coaching staff. Our major league coaching staff's incredible about being open to, having some off-season visits. Our players are always reaching out, and Torque, along with a lot of guys, are getting. We had the exit interview. We're having the off-season analysis. We're getting into now that the holidays are in the middle of the holidays. That's when the work, really begins with the bat, and we're in constant contact with these guys.
Just for just a side thing here, it's not going to happen with that golden at bat idea that was supposed to. As someone who picks apart games and thinks 5 moves ahead, that explode your mind with just the thought of that.
It blew up my phone because players and coaches and people were wondering about it. And it's obviously, I know it's controversial with like every change that comes. I think we're all interested in trying to make the game better, and everybody will have an opinion on whether or not something like that is doable. That's a tough one. The way our game's been played for however many years, I've been a very progressive with some of the changes that we've made. That one caught me off guard a little bit, and we open up with the Dodgers next year. I don't know that I want to see any of their hitters, get to hit twice in the same inning, and I know we're not going to do that, but that's a tough one to wrap your arms around on the onset, and then we'll see, if it gets any more traction over the years.
JJ, Oberski's transition to the bullpen.
Yeah.
Could that be a template for any other starters in a similar position? Is there any starter on the roster that seems pretty well suited?
Yeah, so I think all these guys would choose, potentially being a stretched out starter in the bullpen over maybe being in AAA, but we haven't talked to anybody about coming in with that mindset. When you look at how deep our rotation options are, that conversation's probably coming for somebody. But we've asked our guys to get ready to compete for a rotation job, and then as the spring goes, if we have a transition like Bo has made, or last year we had a couple of our young starters get broken into the big leagues by being in the pen. We put Kenta in the pen. That seems to be more of a spring training timing than a mindset right now. We want our guys to come in ready to try to win a rotation spot, on opening day.
I actually have sort of the opposite question. Tyler Holton has a lot of attributes to be a starter, and he's had 2 fantastic years. How much conversation has actually gone into could he start for us?
Yeah, I think the natural thought is he could do whatever's asked of him. There hasn't been a ton of conversation about that, given the depth that we have, and quite honestly, how good he's been in the role that we've had him. I mean, we use him as much as anybody in baseball, and we try to give him the allotted rest. Not as much as a starter rest, but when he gets stretched out to 2 and 3 and 4 innings, we're very disciplined with giving him the amount of rest before you pitch him again. So he's not going to be in the starter competition. He's in that Swiss Army knife where he's going to pitch, probably every inning next year that we play. Maybe not extra innings if I've already used him, but I don't know if he did every inning this year. But if he didn't, then he got as close as anybody in baseball.
Yeah, so a philosophical question is, if you were not talking about the number 1 and 2 starters on a team or the 3, is a Tyler Holton more valuable pitching the same number of innings in the current role than he would be as an actual starter?
Well, if you look how I use Tyler, he pitches in winning games. Either he bridges to other guys in the bullpen or he's closed out games for us. So to a manager, the guys that pitch in wins, the guys that can close out wins, the guys that can get you out of tough jams, to lead you to a win. Like my definition of value is going to be, how do we create more wins for ourselves? And by how comfortable I've become using Tyler in any role, he's pretty valuable to me where he's at.
Yeah, one last quick follow-up. How many pitchers can do what he did from your experience? How much of a unicorn is he?
I think until guys, listen, I don't doubt players ever. I think guys can do a lot of different things if you just give them the opportunity. I don't know how guys would respond to his versatility, the lack of knowing when he comes to the ballpark, what part of the game he's going to pitch in, the variety of lineups that are thrown at him. Some people pinch hit righty, some people don't. He's a special pitcher for us because I literally, he's one of the guys I know coming to the ballpark that I have a valuable player to put in the game when we need it the most. That's a unique skill set.
Adrian, we're talking a minute ago about the role that we hope doesn't come into play, but all the changes have been made from the pitch clocks to the 3-batter minimum, bigger bases. If any of them, as you've seen them progress, if you liked them, hated them, more or less than you thought?
Yeah, I think the rule change. I think we've nailed it. I think if we look up and despite all of us, then naturally we're going to resist any sort of change or any sort of newness to the history of the game and things like that. But I haven't heard or seen hardly any complaints. There was a little bit of talk around the pitch clock, and I think we've all adapted to that, and nobody is upset with a sub 3-hour baseball game, right? You see the bigger bases, they're going to look weird, and now if we put a smaller base on the field, that would look weird, because we become accustomed to the bigger base. When you look at the pickoff rule, which from a strategy standpoint, or the 3-batter rule from a strategy standpoint, and you ask us to now manage or play the opposite, we'd probably have a hard time going back to it because we're so accustomed now to the newness. So I think we've nailed the rules as an industry, and we need to continue to try to tweak them to get better. And if one doesn't work, but I don't miss as an ex-catcher the catcher getting blown up. Like, I realize we probably have given up runs due to the lack of being able to run somebody over. I don't need our second baseman being flipped. I know I'm caught in between old school and new school but the physical part of that, like, I don't think we're really missing that in our game. So like we nailed that. And you go rule by rule, and games survived. It's been pretty good. And the game, I think is more entertaining today than maybe it once was in certain times.
You talk about any problems with old school and new school. What does it all do that these guys that are doing it in the minors before they came over now are kind of progressed to the point? More and more of these guys are used to it before they get here.
Let me tell you, a modern day second baseman would not be able to understand how to protect yourself on a double play, or to ask him to run over the catcher now. Like, it'd be unfair. These guys have not, if anything, the unique adjustment is going to be the players that have never been in the minor leagues since the challenge system has been in place in the minors. They're not going to remember to whatever that's going to tap your hat or do whatever to challenge a call in spring training. That's going to be a unique experience for them. But I think the game is very adaptable, probably more adaptable than most of us give it credit.
How was Javier Baez doing this one?
Javi's doing well. He's in between Puerto Rico and Tampa with his rehab. We go back and forth. Our people have been down to Puerto Rico and seen him, and he's going step by step. It's a long rehab process, and that's why we're all anxious to see how he comes out of it physically. With the hip, and hopefully alleviates the back issues that he's talked a lot about. And he's been very diligent in his work and very diligent in his rehab process. He hasn't. He hasn't had a misstep, or he hasn't had anything that gives us doubt or pause that he's not going to be fully healthy when the time comes. I don't know when that is, and I don't know what he's going to be able to give us, as we get into the spring. We'll know a little bit more, but I've been very proud of his his communication, his his diligence, and the program he's on is giving him the best chance to get back being healthy.
I'll follow up on your man. Obviously, a lot is going to be happening next time here. How long and maybe like how much do you feel like this injury in particular has hampered him? I know it's hard to answer. But if you can recover, or like the realistic expectations that you guys can set for him.
Yeah, I think I don't know how long it bothered him. I know it hurt him to tell me and our training staff how much he felt like he couldn't go. But I also remember the Arizona series where he had an incredible breakout series and carried us through a good series. I remember the home run against Munoz against Seattle at our place that helped the trajectory of our season turn in the right direction. So we've seen flashes of Javi, but it gets absorbed a little bit too much into some of the struggles. And so, obviously we hope this is a remedy to get him back to playing with freedom and playing more consistently and being the version of the player that he thinks he can become and we think he can become. But he's got work to do, and he sat on the sidelines and watched a really young, interesting team play really well down the stretch, and I bet that's giving him a lot of energy.
Matt Gurley is not an excuse guy. He played every position almost every day. How beat up was he at the end?
Yeah.
Can you talk about him?
Yeah.
How does that impact what he needs to do in this offseason? That's going to be his role.
Yeah, he has one of the hardest jobs on our team because he has to be prepared to play a lot of different positions, and then even we reintroduced first base to him down the stretch last year just because we were moving guys around so much. So it does wear him down. I've got to get better at trying to figure out, his physical sort of gas tank and where's that out. I don't know if he needs more off days as much as we just need to, we need to be cognizant of where he's at. And he was worn down at the end. He's going to work hard this offseason and knows that the same role, right field, third base, a little bit of center field, probably left field. We're still going to keep a first baseman by him, and he's embracing that. And now, as he's seen himself have a really good season in that, that valuable role of being, necessarily unknown of what position he's going to play any given week. And he's been awesome. So he's really a part of the glue of our clubhouse and our team, and gives me a ton of flexibility to make decisions throughout the game because I have that Maryland.
One of you guys ran the bases over the final 6-7 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
How easy is that to translate into a full season? And is that something you feel like would be a point of emphasis in spring training?
Like stolen bases or aggressive base, first or third, like
First,
all of the
third,
pressure. Yeah. So one thing that we're going to, we look at our season, if you look at our whole season as a whole, we'll not tell the whole story of like who we are. If you look at the beginning part of the season, we didn't put a ton of pressure on teams. We didn't run the bases quite as aggressively. We did mix and match quite a bit. We had your standard 5-man rotation with 2 of the best pitchers in baseball anchoring that. The second half of the season, we got younger, we got more athletic, we could run the bases a little more aggressively, we could start runners a ton more. We became a little bit more left-handed. The platoon stuff started working, and we mixed and matched our pitching. So, I think the pressure part of that is something that we've been working towards over the last 4 years, and our personnel is starting to match that pressure mindset. And we started putting a ton of immense pressure on the opponent with ball in play and us being able to take advantage of bases. So we have now something that was in real time, high-end baseball, playoff chasing to playoff caliber baseball to now use that. You think I'm going to use that in a video? You're damn right I am. You think I'm going to use that as motivation? Absolutely, I'm going to. So I hope that becomes our identity because our personnel matches that, and we can utilize our guys the best we can.
What were your takeaways from Brentford's season, and how do you evaluate the AAA performance and then the big league performance? Or as a starter in AAA, starter workload in the big leagues, but you were expecting him to go there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had to do a line. We broke him in with a very unique role of being a mostly bulk reliever / starter and getting his innings in a different way. We could insert him whenever we wanted to and against whatever hitter we wanted. He adapted to that well. He's easygoing. He's low key. His routine is excellent. His strike throwing is very, very good. He's a tough angle, especially the first time you see him. From the big body with a unique angle, and he's much more adaptable than I think most pitchers are given credit. He could do anything, and so we are going to build him up as a traditional starter and give him a chance to win a rotation spot. And given the confidence that he had to have had throughout this first taste of the major leagues, and the type of games he was pitching in, I see him pretty eager coming to spring to try to win a job and be a valuable part of our rotation.